if Tanjiro mastered all breathing styles? What if he actually did have an ability that set him far apart from everyone else in terms of raw talent? In today's video, I'll explore this theory, but before we dive into the action, we need to ask the obvious question. Is this even plausible within the rules of the Demon Slayer world? We know that characters have actually changed the fundamental breathing styles to better suit their needs, such as Mitsuri, who created love breathing from fire breathing to suit her unique body composition. But Tanjiro has one thing going for him, which is that all 14 breathing styles ultimately trace back to one original source, sun breathing. Yoriichi Tsugikuni created sun breathing during the Sengoku era, but he was unable to pass it on to his students directly. So Yoriichi modified it to match each student's individual strength, and that's how the 5 core styles, water, flame, thunder, wind, and stone, were born. Tanjiro is already a special case because he learned water breathing under Urokodaki, and then gradually unlocked the Hinokami Kagura through his memories. Since we already know that Tanjiro can use multiple techniques, and more importantly because he's mastered the original breathing style, that should mean he's capable of using all of them. So from this point onward, Tanjiro has the ability to capture the fundamentals of any breathing technique after seeing it just once. Our story begins the same as usual, with Tanjiro's family being killed by Muzan, Nezuko turning into a demon, and Giyu sending him to train with Urokodaki. Just like in canon, Tanjiro enters final selection armed with only water breathing, scraping through by the skin of his teeth against the hand demon. You see, Tanjiro can't just start throwing breathing styles around since he's never actually seen anything other than water breathing so far. This changes during the Tsuzumi Mansion arc, as Tanjiro teams up with Zenitsu and Inosuke, witnessing different breathing styles for the first time in his life. Immediately, Tanjiro picks up the principles behind their techniques. Thunder breathing is all about speed, and is built around fast dashing attacks that focus power in the user's legs. On the other hand, beast breathing is all about unpredictability, and relies on Inosuke's heightened senses to reach its full potential. With his new knowledge of thunder breathing and beast breathing, Tanjiro heads over to Mount Naragumo to take on the Lower Moon 5 Rui. But we can't have Tanjiro using beast breathing here, because his struggle during the final battle with Rui was the key to awakening the Hinokami Kagura from his memories. So, Tanjiro still needs to be rescued by Giyu at the end of this arc, but it's great practice for the siblings as they both unlock new techniques. Our divergence really begins during the Mughen train arc, as the ability to use multiple techniques is perfect when you're dealing with many weaker entities. Tanjiro is the first to break out of Enmu's blood demon art, and finds himself surrounded by weaker enemies. Tanjiro has watched Thunder Breathing's Thunderclap and Flash dozens of times in sparring, so when he wakes up, Tanjiro instinctively borrows the concept. The Demon Slayers clear out the train and beat Enmu in record time. But then Akaza arrives and everything else takes a back seat. Tanjiro witnesses the full explosive power of an upper moon at close range, as Rengoku, a master of flame breathing, deals damage with seemingly no results. Unable to join the battle, Tanjiro watches how flame breathing works. It's about destructive heat and overwhelming forward momentum. Rengoku still dies in this timeline, and Tanjiro, weeping over his body at dawn, makes a silent promise that he will not let that power die with him. And with that, we move on to the Entertainment District, which is where Tanjiro's new cross-style thinking gets its first real test. Tengen Uzui runs this mission with a chaotic, improvisational energy that's unlike anything Tanjiro has trained with before. His signature technique, sound breathing, prioritizes surprises over elegance, and uses explosive bursts and deliberate noise to disorient the enemy's senses before hitting them where they can't recover. Tanjiro absorbs this by watching intently, but since Daki and Gyutaro are already up and about when he has time to observe Tengen, he lacks the time to learn the techniques effectively. Instead, the novel technique he uses against the Upper Moon 6 is derived from Rengoku's battle against Akaza. When Daki's blood ribbons multiply and come at him from multiple directions, Tanjiro uses his fire breathing to blast through her attacks and close the distance. The Demon Slayers back Daki into a corner, forcing Gyutaro out and starting the real battle. Gyutaro's poison sickles are a serious problem, but Tanjiro copies Inosuke's beast breathing movements to attack from angles Gyutaro doesn't anticipate. It's not clean, but the chaos it creates is exactly what Tanjiro needs to land the finishing blows. Moving on to the Swordsmith village arc, Tanjiro gets the rare opportunity to watch Muichiro train with the Yoriichi Type 0 doll. This means he can study and perfect mist breathing well before actually having to use it in battle. Mist breathing is built on disorienting the opponent with feints, making it nearly impossible for any opponent to predict what's real. Tanjiro doesn't have Muichiro's natural talent for it, but he captures the basic forms. Mist breathing comes in handy during the battle against the Upper Moon 4, as Tanjiro uses it to evade attacks from Hantengu's various forms. This means he suffers fewer injuries leading up to the confrontation with Zohakuten. Mitsuri Kanroji's love breathing is different. It's acrobatic and built around her unique physical flexibility. It's much harder to copy this style, as it's also associated with Mitsuri's unique whip swords, and Tanjiro doesn't really use it at any point in this story. The Demon Slayers defeat both Gyoko and Hantengu Zangu just like in the original timeline, and now we head into the Hashira training arc. In canon, this arc is all about improving the Demon Slayer's combat prowess, but Tanjiro goes a step further and tries to take unique lessons from each breathing style. With Gyomei Himejima, Tanjiro studies how to put devastating power behind each strike, making sure that even a single blow would be decisive. From Sanemi Shinazugawa, Tanjiro learns about the aggressive and relentless approach of wind breathing, punishing any opponent who hesitates. Sanemi teaches Tanjiro by hitting him hard enough to send him flying, but even that is an effective learning experience for Tanjiro. Obanai Iguro's serpent breathing teaches something that Tanjiro severely lacked: the art of misdirection. By the end of the Hashira training, Tanjiro doesn't have 14 perfect styles, but he has the intelligence to know which one fits which situation. And with that, we move on to the Infinity Castle arc, where Nakime pulls the Demon Slayer core into the Infinity Castle, and the walls start moving before anyone has time to breathe. The constantly shifting architecture is designed to isolate the strongest Demon Slayers, but Tanjiro's answer to the architecture comes straight from what Gyomei taught him. Stone breathing doesn't fear the terrain, and Tanjiro moves through the collapsing corridors, smashing through unstable sections to carve stable paths. When the castle's layout forces him toward Akaza, Tanjiro doesn't hesitate and opens with flame breathing. But Akaza's compass needle reads fighting spirit, and the raw energy of pure flame breathing makes Tanjiro easy to track. So this time, when Tanjiro drops into the selfless state, he begins layering serpent breathing's misdirection into his movements. Akaza freezes, giving Giyu, who has been watching and waiting, an opening to attack. Both Tanjiro and Giyu suffer far fewer injuries here, leaving them in better shape as we move into the final battle against Muzan. The Infinity Castle comes out into the open, and now it's a desperate war of attrition to keep the Demon King out in the open until sunrise. In canon, the final battle was a desperate survival exercise, as the Demon Slayers absorbed damage they couldn't recover from. But in our timeline, Tanjiro arrives at this battle carrying something no Demon Slayer has ever carried before: the complete inheritance of every style the core has ever developed. When Muzan unleashes his whip attacks, Tanjiro answers with Wind Breathing's first form, Dust Whirlwind Cutter, creating a rotating perimeter of slashes that deflects the assault and gives his allies room to breathe. Muzan didn't have to deal with sound breathing in the original timeline, but this time, Tanjiro's explosive bursts scatter Muzan's attention across multiple points. This creates openings that Sanemi and Gyomei immediately exploit, and Tanjiro knows exactly when to rush in or back off, because he understands every fighter on the battlefield. But at this point, you might be realizing something. We haven't even seen Tanjiro's most powerful weapon yet. When Muzan is sufficiently weakened and the sunrise countdown reaches its critical window, Tanjiro reaches deep into his ancestral memories to activate Sunbreathing's 13th form. The continuous sequence of all 12 forms designed to destroy Muzan's 12 vital organs unfolds on the battlefield, but this time it's supplemented by all of the other forms as well. Water's fluidity smooths every transition, making the sequence impossible to interrupt, while Thunder's explosive speed makes each strike arrive before Muzan can react. As Tanjiro's Demon Slayer mark glows and his Nichirin sword burns bright red, Muzan cannot defend against the onslaught. His cells dissolve faster than they can regenerate, and Tanjiro beheads Muzan, the rising sun finishing what the blade started. There's no new Demon King here, just a clean victory backed by the souls of the generation of Demon Slayers before him. But what do you think? Is this version of Tanjiro actually better than if he used pure sun breathing? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And in the meantime, if you want to see another good anime video, you can click on this one that's appearing on your screen. Go ahead, click it.